Hey folks, welcome back to the Sedgwick Jimmy channel. We're certainly glad to see you, and today we're taking a look at the Barbary Wars, fought between a Swedish-American coalition and pirates from the Barbary Coast of northern Africa. That's right, we got two wars between a group of rebels and Vikings against pirates. What led to the conflicts and how did they pan out? Well, that's what we're here to look at, so let's get into it. The Barbary Coast, named after the Berber people native to the area, makes up modern-day Morocco, Libya, Algeria, and Tunisia, though in the time we're looking at it was mostly comprised of Algiers, Tunis, and Tripoli, and all three were technically part of the Ottoman Empire, though they pretty much ruled themselves independently. Pirates known as corsairs had attacked ships and raided towns, primarily looking for slaves for at least 1,000 years, even fighting in the Berber Crusade of 1390 against a French Genoese coalition, though their activity greatly increased in the 1500s. A big reason for this was the introduction of what most people think of when we think of pirates. Not quite. Well, that's closer. There you go. As in the European type that brought their seafaring technology and know-how. They began to expand the range of their raids, traveling as far as Ireland and Iceland. The treasuries of these Barbar states were filled with plundering, ransoms, and selling slaves. Keep in mind that when they sacked a city or island, they took thousands of slaves. The Barbary Coast slave raiders were responsible for up to 2 million slaves entering the marketplace. In addition to the Berber Crusade mentioned earlier, European groups and countries took offense to having their people attacked and brought the fight to the pirates. In 1609, the Knights of St. Stephen took the port city of Bona in Algeria. And in 1611, the Spanish, aided by the Knights of Malta, raided islands off the coast of Tunisia. In 1675, the British were able to barter a peace with Tunis. And after a little violent persuasion, Tripoli as well. This peace protected their ships in the Mediterranean, as well as ships from their American colony, but as many of you know, in 1776 the colonies declared their independence, ending their protection under British rule. However, they were still protected because of their Treaty of Alliance with France. Morocco recognized the United States as a country in 1777, the first independent nation to do so, and in 1786 Morocco and the United States signed a treaty that still stands to this day. Though a treaty was signed with Morocco, the other Barbary states, which were part of the Ottoman Empire, weren't quite on the same page. In 1785, pirates from Algeria captured 2 U.S. merchant vessels. The requested ransom was a ridiculous amount, over $600,000 to each state, and when John Adams and Thomas Jefferson went to London to meet with the Algerian representative, it did not go particularly well. Jefferson argued with Congress that paying the ransom would only bring on more piracy, but Congress, who were being pressured by the public as stories of the captives reached their shores, chose to send a hearty sum of $800,000 in order to sign a treaty with the Dey of Algiers. This led to the release of 115 captives and set a yearly tribute to be paid, as well as being the catalyst for the creation of the U.S. Navy. Jefferson constantly argued against paying the tribute, and Washington didn't exactly like it either, but he wanted to keep the country as neutral as possible. By the way, this is why we also stayed out of the French Revolution. Adams continued this approach for his term in office, but when Jefferson became president in 1801, not only was it time to stop paying, it was time to fight back. In 1801, with the election of a new administration, Tripoli demanded a higher payment than normal, about $225,000, and Jefferson being Jefferson, he said no. In response, Tripoli declared war on the United States. Now, Jefferson had sent a small force of 4 ships before word of the war declaring had reached him. The ships being ordered to protect American ships but not to engage the enemy, seeing as Congress had not declared war back. However, after news of the declaration reached the U.S., and with some prodding from Jefferson, Congress did allow the attacking of enemy ships. When the ships arrived at Tripoli, they found the Swedish had already begun a blockade of the coast, seeing as they had had enough of the raids and piracy and gone to war back in 1800. Commodore Edward Preble met with the King of Naples in order to secure supplies as well as the use of several ports to use as bases. The first major skirmish came between the American ship Enterprise and the Tripoli, with the Enterprise winning the day rather easily. More American ships had also arrived, giving the Americans significantly more naval power than the pirates. In October 1803, the Philadelphia ran aground and was taken by Tripoli forces set up in the harbor to act as defense. However, in February, Lieutenant Stephen Decatur led a small group of Marines aboard a captured Tripoli vessel and boarded the Philadelphia, overpowering the pirates and burning the ship. The blockade pretty much held up, and in April of 1805, a force of Marines and mercenaries marched over 500 miles from Egypt to the city of Derna, taking it and raising the American flag over foreign soil for the first time. This is also where the Shores of Tripoli line comes from in the Marines' hymn. With a major city having been lost, Tripoli was ready to talk peace, and the war ended with a treaty in June of 1805. The sides traded prisoners, with the Americans paying $60,000 due to having more prisoners than they were getting back. This wasn't very popular, but the country had more pressing issues as the War of 1812 was beginning to take shape. Within a few years of the treaty, piracy against American ships had begun again, but with the U.S. forces busy in the War of 1812, little was done to stop them. However, when the war ended, a large squadron was sent to the Barbary Coast to stop the piracy once and for all. They captured the Algerian flagship Meshuda off of Cape Gata and the Estidio near Cape Palos. In June, the ships finally reached Algiers and demanded a treaty be negotiated, which the Algerians saw as the only way for their survival. They agreed to hand over any U.S. prisoners, pay a fine for America's troubles, and cease all piracy against American shipping. Happy that they now had open shipping rights to the Mediterranean, the Americans went home and the Second Barbary War ended. The Barbary states continued piracy against European powers until a bombardment by British forces greatly curtailed it, and it ended pretty much altogether with the French taking over much of the coast. And that's just going to about do it for our quick look at the Barbary Wars, and if you liked it, why don't you give us a like. If you want to see more, give us a subscribe. If you have anything to add or any ideas for future episodes, why don't you head on down to the comments and let us know. We appreciate you watching, we appreciate you being here, and hope to see you here again in the future for more Sedgwick Jimmy. Come check it out.